All right, geometry students, so we are moving into our new topic, and our first lesson is about rigid motions and translations. So we should be able to carry out rigid motions by translating or sliding a figure on the coordinate plane. And in this lesson, we are going to be defining transformations, rigid motions, and translations. Make sure that you have your guided notes open, ready to go, and let's get started. So I've already taken some notes for us already. Transformations. A transformation is an operation that maps an original figure called the preimage, and I've highlighted that in red for us here. It maps an original figure called the preimage onto a new figure called the image. Now, in the diagram on the left, you'll see that the red triangle is the pre-image. This is our starting point. And our ending point is the image. So we go from triangle ABC to triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. The apostrophes read as prime. So you'll notice A is mapped onto A prime, B is mapped onto B prime, and C is mapped onto C prime. Going even more specific, so first of all, a transformation can change the position, orientation, or size of a figure. And if we move even more specific, we can talk about rigid motions. Rigid motions are when a transformation preserves the size and shape of a figure, which means all corresponding sides and angles are congruent to each other. Rigid motions produce congruent figures. Some examples of rigid motions are translations, which we're getting into today, reflections, and rotations. So translations, our first stop. Translations are meant to vertically and or horizontally slide a figure. So you'll notice in the diagram that triangle ABC is slid 6 units to the right and 3 units down in the coordinate plane. It is translated that amount. When we use coordinate notation to keep track of our translations, that means that we are taking the pre-image point, xy, and mapping it onto x plus h, y plus k. So from pre-image to image. Now in this notation, h represents the horizontal shift, meaning how far left to right are we sliding this figure, and k represents the vertical shift, how far are we sliding the figure up or down. So let's try this out with problem number 1. We're given a triangle QRST with specific vertices, and we're asked to perform the translation. When we start with xy, it is mapped to x plus 5, y plus 7. In our case, since x is being added to 5, or 5 is being added to x, that means we are moving 5 right on the grid. And then y plus 7 means we are moving 7 up on the grid. 5 right, 7 up for each coordinate. So let's just start by graphing quadrilateral or rectangle QRST. So Q is at -6, -1, -6, -1. That's Q. R is at -3, 1. S is at 1, -5. And T is at -2, -7. So here is our lovely rectangle. This is our pre-image. And so to find Q prime, R prime, S prime, and T prime, we can shift on the graph Or we can just add 5 to x and 7 to y for each coordinate. Let's do both. So I'll draw my image in green. So q prime would be -6 plus 5, which is -1. -1 plus 7 is +6. So q prime would be at -1, +6. And if we track that on the graph, that is moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up. R prime would be -3, 1. -3 plus 5 is +2. And 1 plus 7 is 8. S prime would be 1 plus 5 is 6. And -5 plus 7 is +2. T prime would be -2 plus 5 is +3. And -7 plus 7 is 0. So if we plot all of these points, so again, this is Q, R is going to be 2, 8. Here's R prime, Q prime, R prime. S prime is going to be 6, 2. And T prime is at 3, 0. So let me try to draw this a little bit better here. Okay. So you'll notice if I drew this portion of the rectangle a little bit better here, let me fix that. If you notice, these rectangles are the same size and shape, they're just on different positions in the coordinate plane. We slid 5 right and 7 up. I'm going to let you try problem 2, and I'm also going to ask that you try out problems 3 and 4 as well when you are using coordinate notation to translate figures. So that's it for this part of the video. Next up, we will have vectors and vector notation. Make sure you try out the practice problems I described and check your work with topic 3 notes. Ask for support if you need it. Thanks for watching.